so excited. This is going to be good, I hope, because it's been 2 years I've been waiting for this. So I hope it's going to be really, really good. Let's give you some context, and then we'll break this bad boy open. I ordered this a long time, and then there's delays, and then COVID hit, and everything else. So it's been delayed. But it was something I backed on Kickstarter. And I actually heard about it from a YouTube channel who you might know him, Angry Joe. Anyone heard of Angry Joe? He talked about this, and he's quite notorious for sort of calling people out on bad products. So he brought me into this because he kind of put his reputation on the line to say this was going to be a good product. So I backed it on Kickstarter after his recommendation and behind the scenes and everything else like that. And then, like I said, it got delayed, and then things got in the way, and then COVID hit, and they've been very good keeping us up to date as this was going. And now we're gonna break this bad boy up, and I've got everything to do with this product. So let's have a look at what's in the box. First things first, let's give you a close-up view of said box. Oh. Okay. Well, I've got these two things. Put those to one side for 5 minutes. Oh, that's actually quite well packed. Someone can already see what it is. So it's the Street Fighter miniatures game. Yes! I'm well pumped for this. Look at that. It comes with figures. It's like a dice roll game that you roll dice and battle the characters. But what really attracted me to it was all the figures that you get with it. It's got cardboard everywhere. Now remember, kids, right? Remember that whenever you unpack anything, you put all the rubbish in the box. There you go, Mum. Hope you're happy. Come on. Put that down there. And then I'll explain a little bit more about what this is. Right. So, yes, it's the Street Fighter miniatures game. You can't really see it there. Let me rearrange this a little bit. Don't drop it, Billy. You may have just bored it. Sorry, chat. Be right with you. Just gonna rearrange this a bit so you can see things properly. Didn't really think this through. Don't hope no one gets motion sickness. Where do I start? Where do I start? Starter pack. And I don't actually remember what you get in each of these, to be fair. But it covers pretty much every Street Fighter game. There's characters to represent in every Street Fighter game, from Street Fighter, the very first one, right through to Street Fighter 5. And as you know, I'm very much into my action figures anyway. So when I saw this, I thought, well, this would be a cool way to get loads of action figures. The rule book. I tell you what, I'm going to put it on this camera. The thing I like about a rule book is when it's not massive, so that's pretty cool. You know, I'm a sucker for artwork, and as you can see from the manual, it's like chock-a-filled with like unique art just for this project. I won't be playing it today because I've got to learn how to do it, but awesome. You got like Zangief suplexing Ryu and stuff in the book. Because in Street Fighter, you can throw them into like the scenery and stuff on the older Street Fighter games. They took that in consideration on the board game, so they've got like crates and stuff that you can break and break apart as you go into it. There's the military base stuff, as you can see. Right, so this is the play field. I'm just going to open it. Oh, we've got some figures. We've got some figures. What? Sorry, didn't mean to hit you. So that's the That's the Air Force background. Switch that over. That's like, I don't know, like. But this is what we came to see. So this is it. This is the moment. Is this going to be good? Let's find out with the figures. We have to start with Ken Masters, don't we? Because he is my favourite. Loz, Bill, you're going to need an extension to your games room to display all of this. Well, they're not massive. They're not massive figures. And do you know what? That's not, considering the size, that's not half bad. Considering that's a board game, that's not too bad. So that's the size of it. I quite like that. I think that fire effect is quite cool. And they've got the Dragon Punch pose correct, because they tend to not always get that looking quite right. Yeah, Ken was always my go-to, and there's a character select on my YouTube channel about Ken coming up soon, about the history and what this character taught me how to play beat 'em ups, how to get used to distancing and all that kind of stuff. And he ever since I first got into beat 'em ups in my teenage years, it was Ken that sort of taught me how to play games, and the stuff I learnt with Ken, his special moves, his distancing, I transitioned onto many beat 'em ups. So that's Ken's very important to me. I wouldn't be any good at fighting games if I didn't learn the lessons there with Ken. So anyone who plays Street Fighter against me knows I picked this character up because no one ever played as him. Vegu was always a character that no one I ever saw play as him. No one ever played as him. My brother didn't play as him when he introduced me to Street Fighter. I never saw anyone in the arcades play as him. He was never in any of the tournaments I used to watch. But he was such a pain to beat when the computer played as him. So I thought, well, no one's playing as him. I need a charge character, which is, for anyone who doesn't know, that's where you hold back for 2 seconds forward on a button, is rather than pressing the quarter towards stuff. So I thought I'd give him a go, and I picked him up. And I picked him up in Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo and Street Fighter Alpha 2. It took ages, but I got quite good with him. And what I found is that because no one uses Vega generally, they keep buffing him every time there's an update because they just want people to use him. So I just got better and better because I knew how to play as him way back then, and he always worked. It's just no one knew how to use him. I know this is going to sound a little weird, but Bill, you have amazing teeth. Mine are like Bugs Bunny. Thanks, WV Productions. But yeah, Colgate, if you're interested. So that's Ryu. Pretty cool again. Again, they're not massive figures, but the detail's pretty good. I mean, if you look at his belt, he's got his Dan marks. If anyone knows anything about karate. So that, and even the detail on his gloves are there to sort of, they haven't gone to, haven't got rid of any expense. They've really gone to town on these figures. Ryu has this red headband, as you see here, and in the Alpha series, which is a prequel to Street Fighter 2, he wears a white headband. And in the end of the story of Ryu and Ken, because Ken used to have really long blonde hair, and he used to have red ties on the end. He took that off and gave that to Ryu, and now Ryu always wears his headband in memory of his friendship with Ken. So even got like Tiger on his waist there. Sagat was the first boss of Street Fighter 1. I love the fire effects. I think they've done a great job on that. And it's so easy to make those kind of plasticky fire effects look bad. But that's not actually too bad. They've got like this little rock in between his legs as well, which is kind of cool. But Sagat's been beaten up quite badly, poor bloke. Basically, his eye was damaged by Dan's dad, then he killed him. And the scar across his chest was what Ryu gave him with the Dragon Punch at the end of Street Fighter 1. And that toppled him as the world's strongest fighter, and he's been kind of angry about it ever since. There's Chun-Li. Pretty cool the amount of detail they've done on her dress. But as much as Chun-Li is in the Street Fighter games, she always changes. Every Street Fighter game she's a completely different character. Unlike Ryu and Ken, which you can pretty much play them in any one of them. Chun-Li always changes how she plays. Pretty different. She's deadly in every single game, but I could never get the grips with her because every time I got to a new game I had to completely change how I would use her. And there was another character that I decided to get into instead, but obviously she's the mainstay and a very popular female character in Chun-Li. My Achilles heel on playing as a good character in Street Fighter was any of the characters you have to rapidly press attack with. and especially with Chun-Li with the multi-hit kicks, because I play with a controller rather than with a joystick. If you're rapidly pressing that's easier, but when you're trying to do it on a thumb or stuff, I could never pull it off, so that kind of moved me away from Chun-Li. Right, we've got one more character in the starter pack, and that is the big boy, which is Zangief. Now, if Sagat didn't want a hug, then Zangief certainly does. And my friend Matthew played as Zangief much as the same as I did with Vega, because no one used him. And Zangief has these 360 moves where you have to input roll your thumb around the D-pad twice to do these special moves. And we've always had this amazing story where we played through Street Fighter Alpha 3 on the PlayStation. And my friend Matthew, the final boss on that is 2 Super Bisons with it's like an RPG where they level up, and when you get there, that boss fight is absolutely crazy. And we were there for quite a long time as kids trying to beat that boss with all our characters. And we said, right, last go, and this is pretty much the last time Matthew played Street Fighter properly. He brings in Zangief, and not only topples the other, both Bisons with Zangief, he also manages to get his final atomic buster on the last boss in the hardest version of Alpha 3. And we were jumping for joy. We went crazy as Zangief spending pile drive Bison into the floor and destroyed him. We loved that. We always thought that was great. His chest still isn't as hairy as mine. No, Wookie, no one's is. Just not possible. I want to make my own board game one day for my thing, and I thought about using one of these. So it's quite interesting they've packed this. This looks to be some sort of like a special gauge meter, which is kind of cool. I don't know if you can see it there, but there's like numbers to say how much power you have. Grabbing old Dan out of the air and throwing him to the floor. Should have done these cards at the same time as doing the figures, I suppose. There's a suplex from the menu earlier. It's kind of cool. The thing is about a power bomb is no matter what you do, although a power bomb's awesome, you can never make that look good in a still frame. It has to be a movement, yeah? I mean, that just looks... Yeah. There's nothing you can do about that. Mind you, a backbreaker, which always... that can look a bit odd in movement. That looks pretty devastating on that card right there. There's loads of these. Okay, I take it back. As far as pile drivers go, that looks pretty sweet. That doesn't look... It's the explosion that clearly makes the difference. Okay, my first complaint on the board games. When you buy a board game and you've got cards in it, make your box have designated areas to put the cards in. Because as you can potentially see with this, there is no... they put multiple packs in one area, so there's no way of separating them all. So as soon as I've taken them out the cellophane, then they all get muddled up. That's my one gripe with that. The back of the cards are really nice too. So I don't know if you're going to be able to see. Yeah, there we go. That's not bad, is it? You can see that they've put like this embossed picture of Ryu on the back of every card. That's pretty sweet. That's pretty damn sweet. Typical Sagat. First card I pick out, and he's throwing the old Tiger Shot. I do love Muay Thai. Muay Thai is a great fighting style. There's some great martial arts movies. On Back and Warrior King. I'm going to flick through them because we'll be here all night. I didn't realise there was going to be this many different cards. I thought there might be a few from here to there, but again, some great artwork for each individual. If you're a fan of any of these characters, just one character and a set of cards would be awesome. There we go. That's from the actual Udon comic, which is pretty cool actually. The Street Fighter story is not great. Any storyline, there's some good moments, but trying to coherently put it all together is not brilliant. And part of that is because of the fact that you know, you've got sometimes 12 to 60 characters that when they finish the tournament, they win, and the story follows their storyline. So you obviously have a canon storyline of who won, who beat who, but trying to tie it all together is very difficult because it just doesn't make sense by the way it's set up. But Udon do a great job on a comic strip of Street Fighter to sort of knit all the storyline together, and that's their artwork from. And for anybody who's interested, they're making a Mortal Kombat one next, or they've hinted towards it, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to jump on that next. And if it's anything like this, I'm going to be well chuffed. Oh, that's awesome. Kind of him sort of worshipping his claw. That's pretty cool. Because they could have just put the claw. And there's these... I love that picture of Vega. There was a Street Fighter on the... They actually put Super Street Fighter 2 on the Game Boy Advance. And it was kind of... There wasn't enough buttons on that console to play Street Fighter properly, but it was a damn good version. And I love that... The artwork from that game is really cool. And any Ken player trying to beat Vega, and if you see that in my own character select episode, that's basically what happens and how that fight goes. Just Vega back dodging all over the place, and your moves just never hit him. Body blow to Bison there. Look at these cards, man. I've bought. There's a DC, a really fun DC stack building game, card stack building game that I've got, and I played a lot with my friends with that. And the artwork they used in that was there was loads of repeat pictures, which is a bit of a shame. But in this, I mean, they've only ever repeated it if the card's purpose is exactly the same. Pretty decent. Roy giving Vega an arm drag or shoulder throw. But that one, okay, that might be one of the best ones where he's gone the Dark Hado. That's pretty awesome. And the classic him walking the road at the end of Street Fighter 2. How many times I've seen that ending? Because my friend Matthew used Ryu was like, oh, that's an awesome picture of Ryu. Look at that. So cool. They communicated with us really well of what was going on. And they communicated different parts of the world and sort of explained what was the situation and where it was, and this was all sort of held up in customers at one point, and they really sort of explained it really well. So bravo to Jasco Games for doing it. Axe kick. So anyone who doesn't know, one of the biggest differences between Ken and Ryu later on is that Ken got a lot more normals, which are different kicks that he has to differentiate him. Whereas Ryu tends to be more punch orientated, Ken tends to be more kick orientated. That's the classic artwork again from the controller. I think it was 15th anniversary. Might be 20th. I think it was 15th though. Where that was on the box art and in fact it's in the background. Yeah, it was 15th. Bear with me. There's the 15th anniversary controller set, which comes with that, and I think, is it down or up? Yeah, the controller had sort of this, I'm getting the glare off the thing, but it has this sort of animation on the, I think you can see that on the front where it shows the Sharuken. That was pretty cool. So that's where they've got that artwork from. Lisa's not leaving until she sees Sakura. We'll have a look. I can't remember what characters are in it, but like you said, you had different tiers. You could have just bought this starter set, and there's loads in here already, but I just went, no, I want them all. Oh, they got Violent Ken. So there was a game SNK made, which was SNK versus Capcom, which was the first time I ever saw that was on the Xbox original. And they actually made a Evil Ken or Violent Ken. I don't know why he's got an afro, I never understood that, but he had some pretty sick moves, Chun-Li. Pretty cool. Yeah, I actually got a really bad mark in art because I weren't bothered about learning how to draw like Van Gogh and all those artists, this famous artists. I wanted to learn how to draw Japanese art, anime. Specifically things from Phantasy Star Online and Street Fighter, and I was adamant I was not changing my mind. Some great shots of Chun-Li in this. I was not changing my mind, and because I stuck to my ways, all my reports were on these Japanese artists that comic book artists I really liked, and they weren't interested. They just sort of said, no, that's not an artist we know, so therefore we can't grade you. And I said, I don't really care. Spinning bird kick, I had to put that in there. Never found that move useful for Chun-Li. Never found that move useful. That, on the other hand, is a move that is very useful. The stomp on the head as they jump through the air. Very, very good. And that's how they've chosen to do the rapid fire kicks. Always on Vega, bless him. Probably due to the movie. So, who's that? That's got to be... Oh, they were on the front in massive bold letters. So you got Street Fighter 3 expansion packs. So like I said, all these came with expansion packs to add more fighters. So you got Street Fighter 3, Street Fighter 4. That's some representatives from that. Street Fighter 5. I think my other thing is probably going to have to wait. We're going to be here for quite some time. Street Fighter Alpha. What are these? I've got these big boxes. Oh, this is a map pack. That looks to be the cage. So Vega's level. Mama Twig is now ranting about your unfair art marks because you wouldn't draw said fruit. She said she kicked off at the time. She clearly still isn't over it. No, you weren't, Mum. But it was very kind of you to give it a shot. But they never cared. Finally start learning Third Strike. Oh yeah, go for it, Virus. Or you can play Street Fighter 5 with me because I'm getting back into that now. So that's the stage, Vega's stage. Go this way. Let's do it that way around. It looks like the stage from Vega. So there's the dancers and from up the top there, this side. There's the dancers, and on the back you've got. Probably should stand up and do this. You've got Las Vegas and the sumo ring. And it's kind of weird seeing these stages from like a bird's eye view because normally you would see them. You know, kind of from the side. Oh god, there's so much stuff. We've got loads of figures. DJ! Again, pretty cool. They've got the Maxim down the side, fire and his hands. He's doing the rapid fire punches. He looks pretty decent. Looks a lot smaller next to Sagat. That's quite cool as well that they've made the big characters actually tower over the other characters. Guile. Great detail on the trousers there. But the sonic boom is going to be difficult to sort of get right from all angles, and I think, although that's not too bad, I suppose. I think sometimes if you looked at it from bird's eye view, the sonic boom does look a bit strange. Again, look at his shoulders. They've got the trademark USA tattoos. I didn't notice that. They got like the like an eagle wing on the bottom as well. Very cool. Guile was very close to me being a main character. If it wasn't for Vega, because when I wanted a charge character, and it was either going to be Guile or Vega at the time, but Vega took it just because of how different he was from a lot of the other characters. But I always respect a good Guile player. They're normally really defensive. You have to respect the fact that Guile will eat you up on counters and play the medium counter game. I love a good Guile player. I wish there was more. I wish there was more Guile players. Wow. Okay, so Evil Ryu. Look at that. Face is a bit... His face is a bit weird. Yeah, as you can see, his face is a bit weird, really up close with a high definition camera. So that's a bit of a shame. And I know this was this is one of the points of contention. So as they were going through and making these figures, they looked at each figure at one at a time and sort of said that's not quite right. And they had to wait for Capcom to approve them as well to make sure that they looked good and that they were happy with them. And I do remember them saying that some of the eyes on some of the characters weren't quite up to standards, and I remember Angry Joe saying that as well. And I think his eyes was one that they had constant problems with that they couldn't quite get right. But apart from that, apart from the fact that the eyes are difficult, they've got that burst in his chest where like his heart's exploded. And the aura that's going around him is really, really cool. They kind of made him his own. They put horns on him, which I think that looks daft and like spiky teeth. But fair enough. I mean, they had to differentiate him a bit more from Ryu, I suppose. But yeah, they call him Kage now. Goken. That's pretty good. That's pretty damn good. There's a character that was mistranslated in the original Street Fighter 2. This was actually Sheng Long, where everyone was looking for ages to try and find how to unlock Sheng Long in Street Fighter because of what Ryu says when he wins. You have to defeat Shen Long to stand a chance. So everybody thought it was like a secret character, and they thought it was Ryu's master, which is Goken. But actually, it was a mistranslation. It was actually supposed to be Dragon Punch. You have to beat my Dragon Punch to stand a chance. But later on, they built out the lore, and Goken actually got created in Street Fighter 4 as a bonus character. I actually really enjoyed playing as Goken in Street Fighter 4. He took all the traditional Shoto moves and sort of twisted them on their head. So his Hurricane Kick, or Tatsu, was his like anti-air, and his Dragon Punch was more of a special that rather than like a move you could throw out whenever. And he had different ranges of fireballs he threw with one hand. He was very different, and I like that. Here's some Balrog. Cool, you've got your punch in the way there, Balrog. Again, the look at the detail on the buff. I don't know if you can see that. It says Crazy Buffalo on the bottom of his base, and it's kind of like, I guess that's like his ring. Because obviously he's a boxer. Balrog was always a character that the AI didn't really know how to use, and for the longest time, he was always kind of the weakest of the bosses, the 4 bosses from the original Street Fighter. We used to just blow over because you just throw fireballs and he kept rushing into them every time, as if the AI seemed to think that you could go through it. Ken Champion in the chat. You play his Balrog, he plays Balrog properly. We've probably said a lot about the faces on these figures, but that's pretty good. And again, just to give you an idea of size, that's how big they are. So to get that level of detail in the face on that one is actually pretty decent. Honda. So yeah, it was an interesting choice. They've kind of done the 100 hand slap and sort of built the aura around where his hand used to be. So that's kind of cool. And I particularly like, they got like the drain from his level on there. And Honda was probably the character that I played the most when I first started playing Street Fighter. And the reason for that is that I just kept hitting the punch button and did his 100 hand slap, and no one knew how to get past it. And I literally just upset anybody I played Street Fighter with when I just brought out Honda. Because this is where it goes from what I was saying before, is that people need to be taught how to play the game. I used to play people who never would tell me how to play these Street Fighter games. I'm used to Barrier and Sonic. I wasn't used to all these adult fighting games. And they knew how to do fireballs because they owed the game, and they would not teach me how to do it. So when I've come across Honda and found out if I kept pressing the punch button, he did the 100 hand slap, and that's all I did. They didn't know how to get past it. If you just taught me how to play the game, you wouldn't have got so frustrated when I beat you with Honda. There's Cammy. They've gone with a kind of downward cannon spike, because I suppose there must have been a time when they maybe thought about doing the upward kick, but there just wasn't enough support on the figure to do that. Because probably one of my most famous kicks is that one, but they've chosen to do it downwards, probably just for the support of the figure. Every different angle from the figure actually makes it look really, really cool. And Cammy is probably my second favourite Street Fighter character next to Ken. Streets of Rage, another great franchise. I really wanted to play as Axel as a kid, but because my friend Matthew owned Streets of Rage, he was always Axel. So the next character I wanted to play as was Blaze. And it sort of programmed me to sort of say, okay, well, I'll have a main male character and I'll always have a main female character. So in the Street Fighter roster, there wasn't too much to pick from. And as I didn't get on with Chun-Li, I went over to Cammy. And again, she was incredibly difficult to play as because she had no fireballs. I was kind of curious, how do you use a character without a fireball in a Street Fighter? So in the Alpha series, when they introduced her, because I got the Sega Saturn pack where they actually put Cammy in the game, because she wasn't in Street Fighter Alpha 2 originally, but I got that one which did have. I practiced the hell out of her, and then when I went back I could actually use her. But dodging around fireballs and sort of manipulating the space between you and the opponent by jumping over, and she's got a lot of good in-air moves. She really taught me not to rely on fireballs to open people up and find new ways to open people up, and using quick kicks and combos to sort of get past people's defense. And especially in Street Fighter 5, she's amazing. She is so good in Street Fighter 5. Violent Ken. Has anyone seen Guyver? Is it me, or does he look, if I zoom in on his face, does he not look like the bad guy from Guyver? At least he hasn't got an afro. That's the thing. I like Violent Ken. I wish he didn't have the crazy hair that he does. He looks a bit more Super Saiyan in this one, which isn't too bad. There we go. So his eyes aren't as bad as Evil Ryu, because Evil Ryu's weren't great. I like the aura. It's kind of like a black puddle. That's kind of cool. Oh, what's he? Oh, it's sort of bursting out of his back. Oh, he's got Bison's symbol on his back, and they've kind of done like the aura coming out of the eyeballs of the skull. That's cool. I like that. That's really awesome. Oh wait, but there's more. I thought that box was done. Ooh. What's this? Oh, more stages. There's Ken's stage and Ryu's stage. Again, the bass is very cool, and the electricity all around him is really awesome. But Blanka I actually use quite a lot. Again, the reason for that is that Blanka, every game he's in is really good, and no one was using him. So I kind of, as a joke, I picked him up and got really good with him because of my knowledge of Vega. And I was like, oh, I know how to play Blanka quite well, and I can use him quite well. And his unique moves made it, you know, he never stays still. He's constantly jumping around. And I think in a way I kind of punished my friends because it's like, here's this joke character, what you thought was a joke character, no one wanted to play as. Now I'm picking him up and I'm just causing you havoc because you didn't pick him up first. I do wish they made him less goofy and more ferocious though. I want a serious Blanka. That for me would have been more interesting. In the original Super Street Fighter 2, the artwork for Blanka was incredibly ferocious. Whereas as the games have gone on, he's got more and more goofy. Boss Cammy, or Bison Cammy, which is one of her most iconic alternate costumes. Look at that. That is badass. Cammy to conquer Shadowloo, I say. Look at that. That's awesome. Love that. That was one of her costumes, I think, from Street Fighter 4. I don't know if it made it into 5 as well. Might have done. I know it was definitely in 4. That's an awesome figure of Cammy. I mean, she didn't play any different. There's no such real character as Bison Cammy. It was just a costume change. But I think in this game they actually gave it some unique moves, so that'd be quite cool to see. Again, that kind of dark aura on all of them. Really awesome. That's pretty cool. Fei Long. Getting shot. Can't really go wrong with that design, based on Bruce Lee, of course. I don't know why I don't play as Fei Long, because I love Bruce Lee. I watched all his movies growing up. My dad kind of bought me loads of stuff. He made me, bought me my first pair of nunchucks, and I learned how to use nunchucks. Dalsin. This is another character that I wish more people played as, because he's really good, but I guess just people just are not a fan. I mean, the character's iconic, don't get me wrong, and I think people, if they change what Dalsin looked like, they'd probably have something to say about it. But not many. I don't come across many Dalsin players, but when you do, and they've used him really well, you have got a problem on your hands because of the range. You just can't get anywhere near him. And he is very much kind of like, what button do I press to stop this person? Get it wrong and you're in trouble. Get it right and no one can get anywhere near you. This was the boss expansion, as you can see there. The thing about the boss expansion is that basically it's a co-op mode. So where a lot of this game, from what I understand from reading from the Kickstarter, is a lot of the game is based around you playing against someone else. On the boss rulebook, the boss is kind of like a dungeon master kind of like character. You put him in the middle of the fight, and then you get other people you team up with to try and take the boss out. And the boss has got loads of advantages to make him really good. Ah, look at that. The boss or big symbol on his back. So as I went through the years, the meaning of what that meant on their back constantly changed. One minute it meant heaven. Someone told me it said boss. Some people said it said evil or god. But regardless of what it is, it's always cool. But I just love the aura of all of these, and he's throwing the fireballs. So Akuma. Shout out to my friend Dragon, if you're still there, buddy, because I know you watch in the background and don't comment. The Toddinator the first Akuma that we had in our group, and he was a boss. He was the first one to regularly pull off the Raging Demon. He used to hammer those buttons so quickly to pull off that move, whereas the rest of us struggled. My friend used to pull off him. He was Akuma, and he used to cause all kinds of havoc, especially in Marvel superheroes, where Akuma had Mech Gookie, as it was called in Marvel vs. Capcom, or Marvel vs. Street Fighter. He was an extra boss with metal arms and metal legs, and he had all these extra moves, and his standard punch just threw a rocket out, and it just drove me nuts. And there was so much to unbox, the battery on my second camera died. But here is a quick look at the rest of the figures you get in this great product. This board game is a real love letter to Street Fighter fans everywhere. 37 figures, hundreds of player cards with outstanding artwork, mostly different on each, 10 board game stages with 3D destructible terrain, and a bonus card destroy minigame board to help you practice playing with any of the characters, along with tokens and battle dice, life and power indicators, several different ways to play, and each character mixing up the tactics and gameplay. It really is a product with a lot of care and love put into it, and I had so much fun unboxing everything and putting it together, and it looks really eye-catching when you are actually playing the game. Jasco Games have done a really great job here, and I'd like to thank them for all the communication they provided me. It reassured me that I had invested in my Kickstarter wisely. I have only had a few quick games, and I have to say the rule books are a little heavy, as they throw a lot of tactics and options of play at you before you've truly grasped how to play the game, but nothing a few YouTube tutorials didn't fix. Once you complete your first few turns, it is a fun game anyone can enjoy. And if you are tempted to pick up the game yourself, everything is available at jascogames.net/miniatures. It is worth mentioning though, unless you want the cards sliding around inside the game box when you are not playing the game, you might want to invest in some way to store them all, as there is just so much inside the box. And I would have preferred Rose to represent Street Fighter Alpha instead of Karen, but hey, that's me. Maybe future expansion packs, huh? Once I get a bit more familiar with the rules, expect more videos on the Street Fighter Miniatures game here on my channel. But for now, this was Bill from Pop Culture Pause Screen, and I'll see you next week. Same Bill time, same Bill channel. Laters.